Hello. Today we are going to learn user and group management in Linux. In Module 2 we have these topics: creating and managing user accounts and groups, setting file and directory permissions, understanding Linux file ownership and permissions. In Linux, user accounts and groups are used to manage access to system resources and provide security. Here's how to create and manage user accounts and groups. Creating a user account. 1. Open the terminal and log in as the root user or a user with sudo privileges. 2. Run the command useradd followed by the username of the new user, for example, useradd_user. 3. Set a password for the new user by running the command past followed by the username, for example, past_user. 4. Optionally, you can add the new user to a specific group by running the command usermod add group name username, for example, usermod egg sudo user. Managing user accounts. 1. To modify a user account, use the command usermod followed by the username and the option for the change you want to make. For example, to change a user's password, run the command past username. 2. To delete a user account, use the command userdel followed by the username, for example, userdel_user. Creating a group. 1. Open the terminal and log in as the root user or a user with sudo privileges. 2. Run the command groupadd followed by the name of the new group, for example, groupadd_mygroup. Managing groups. 1. To modify a group, use the command groupmod followed by the group name and the option for the change you want to make. For example, to change the name of a group, run the command groupmod a new name old name. 2. To delete a group, use the command groupdel followed by the group name, for example, groupdel_mygroup. 3. To add a user to a group, use the command usermod add group name username, for example, usermod egg mygroup_user. Overall, creating and managing user accounts and groups is an important part of system administration in Linux and provides a way to manage access to system resources and ensure security. In Linux, file and directory permissions are used to control who can read, write, and execute files and directories. Here's how to set file and directory permissions. 1. Open the terminal and navigate to the file or directory you want to set permissions for. 2. Use the command lsl to view the current permissions of the file or directory. The output will look something like this. #root_rr1 user group 4096 March 25, 1425 my file. Text. The first column shows the permissions for the owner of the file root, the second column shows the permissions for the group R, and the third column shows the permissions for everyone else R. 3.to change the permissions, use the command chmod followed by the permission code and the file name or directory. For example, to give the owner of a file read and write permissions, use the command chmod u+ru file name. The permission code u+ru adds read and write permissions for the owner of the file. 4. The permission code consists of 3 parts. The first part indicates the type of permission being set, for example u for the owner, g for the group, o for others, or a for all. The second part indicates the operation being performed plus to add a permission, to remove a permission, or equals to set the permission to an exact value. The third part indicates the permission being set r for read, w for write, or x for execute. For example, to give the owner, group, and others read and write permissions to a file, use the command chmod a+ru filename.5.to change the ownership of a file or directory. Use the command chown followed by the new owner and the file name or directory, for example, chown new owner file name. 6.to change the group ownership of a file or directory. Use the command chgroup followed by the new group and the file name or directory, for example, chgroup new group file name. Overall, setting file and directory permissions is an important part of managing file and system security in Linux, and a way to control who can access and modify system resources. In Linux, file ownership and permissions are used to control who can access and modify files and directories. Here's an overview of how file ownership and permissions work. File ownership. Every file and directory in Linux is associated with a user owner and a group owner. The user owner is the user account that created the file, and the group owner is a group of users who have access to the file. The owner of a file or directory has the highest level of control over it, and can change its permissions and ownership. File permissions determine who can read, write, and execute. The read permission allows users to view the contents of a file or directory. The write permission allows users to modify the contents of a file or directory. And the execute permission allows users to run a file or access the contents of a directory. For example, the permission code ruxer_xerx indicates that the owner has read, write, and execute permissions. The group and others have read and execute permissions, and the file is a regular file. The permission code druxer_xerx indicates that the file is a directory. Overall, file ownership and permissions are an important part of managing file and system security in Linux, and provide a way to control who can access and modify system resources. Understanding how ownership and permissions work is crucial for Linux system administrators and users. Thank you for watching us. Stay tuned for next part.